The insurance industry is being reshaped by changing customer needs, prompting innovation and competition, and new solutions such as embedded insurance. How can insurers adapt to provide tailored, affordable, and easily accessible products? To help answer that question, I'm meeting two key people in the European insurance industry. Alison Martin, EMEA CEO at Zurich Insurance Group, and Urs Baertschi, Global CEO for Property and Casualty at Swiss Re. Certainly we're starting to see an increasing trend where customers are much more demanding. They demand personalized service, attention, they demand the ability to interact with both kind of physical agents, but also online channels in a seamless way. They're looking at easier ways to buy their insurance, be that through bundling with other goods and services. So embedded insurance looks to be an important trend for the next decade. So customer needs are changing, and the industry does need to respond to that. Alison, when you think about this trend at Zurich, how are you perceiving this, and how are you responding?
I think you need to be where the customers want to meet you. So wherever customers are is where we need to be. The embedded insurance question, I think insurance, because it is sold, not bought, is a context moment. So having opportunities where there are relevant contexts where a customer would think an insurance proposition would be appropriate is really important. If you think to the reason why bank assurance is so successful, that's it, because the banks have context moments with customers. Embedded insurance is simply trying to widen out the situations where those contexts occur. Now, we do see them you can debate about the future of automotive. At the moment, depending on the jurisdiction, but a lot of insurance is sold through the dealerships when people buy their car, because the context exists for wanting to buy an insurance policy. But it doesn't have to be that way. It can be embedded within the vehicle itself. Now, it's going to depend on what the OEMs believe is the most appropriate strategy for them. And fundamentally, it's how do the customers want to buy their insurance? Do they want to have it simple, quick, easy? Do they want to have a lot of optionality and choice, bells, whistles? And I think that's going to depend on the complexity of the product. Context moments and simple bundling works best for very simple products, be it device protection, be it travel, etc. Complex purchases like saving for your retirement needs, you're unlikely to want to embed that.
Mm. How do you see that, Urs? This kind of emergence of these different channels, perhaps different providers of insurance to customers. How do you see that potentially changing the whole value chain of insurance over time?
Yeah, we're actually quite optimistic around the further emergence and prominence of embedded insurance in general. We see it by 2032 growing to about 1.5 trillion in premiums globally, and that's about 16% of all premiums sold at that time. So we see potential and a trend in that direction. There's a number of things that happen in the background. So Alison touched a little bit on this topic of automotive. Mobility is actually an area where we could see where a product is changing to a service. And as a result of that, what we're insuring today goes from personal liability to product liability. And so in that, the bundling changes completely the way that also the insurance industry engages with the customer and the end customer. It's a different value proposition. As a result of that, we have to build digital ecosystems that are insufficient today to support that environment, but over time, we're thinking that they will emerge.
So I think digital ecosystems, I think that's a really interesting point. So part of it is about being able to reach the customers in these moments of important context and sell digitally to them through that. But of course, another aspect of those is ecosystems that bundle prevention services. We talked about that in the earlier section as well, about societal value. Perhaps Alison, you'd like to share a little bit of how Zurich is thinking about ecosystems and service as opposed to sort of risk transfer and sort of distribution of products.
Yes, I think ecosystem is an oft kind of used word. I think I like to think of it more as we have a broader role to play, which is not just about transferring risk from someone else's balance sheet to ours. Yeah. That actually we have a fundamental role to play in supporting prevention activities. So I think that's how I frame it. One of the things that we've been very successful in the last 5 years is in Zurich Resilient Services, which is looking at actually how do you support customers with their climate resilience, recognizing that we need to adopt a two-pronged approach. So one is supporting customers with their transition to a net zero economy. So how are they thinking about reducing their own emissions and transitioning their business models? But importantly, we see the effects of climate change here today. So what are we doing to actually support customers, whether they're making project decisions for manufacturing plants for the next 30 years? So where are they going to locate them? What are the biggest perils they're concerned about? Are they concerned about their actual physical location? Or are they concerned about their employees? Are they concerned about the infrastructure availability to that location? I mean, there's so many different ways that a business could be impacted. So then being able to give advice to a customer about how they can bundle all of that together and think about their investment decisions that they're making for the long term, recognizing the impacts today of climate, it really helps to build resilience into communities. And importantly, I say community deliberately, because there's no point one business being resilient in isolation if the community where the employees are and the infrastructure that business relies on is not resilient. So it has got to be community level resilience.
Thank you so much, and thank you both for joining me today for this fantastic conversation.